Welcome back to another phone review. I have the Uhans Note 4 in for testing today, and this was sent in via Gearbest for a review. I'll just take off the front protective film on the phone. Now, quick look at the specs on this. We have a large 5.5-inch display. We have 3 gig of RAM and 32 gig of storage. Also have a big capacity battery on this. We'll be doing a test on that later on. Now on the back here you'll see the markings showing you where the ports are and the card slot, etc. So we'll peel that off. And looking at the front here, where the screen protector is a plastic one, but it is a tempered glass one, which I will show you very shortly. Some people leave them on, some take them off. Fingerprint sensor, LED light, and there's the 13 megapixel camera. And on the top they've decided to put the micro USB and 3.5mm jack. Underside there's 2 speaker grills, but just one of those speakers works. Now again, for some reason they've decided to put the buttons on the left side, the volume control and power. I'm not sure if that makes any difference myself. I'm left-handed. I've never had a problem using buttons on the right either. Now taking out the SIM card slot, likewise with most of these phones you lose one SIM slot. They're dual SIM if you're using the micro SD card for storage expansion. I've also listed out the bands that are supported. Seems to support the most common ones in the market. Now the finish on this is quite nice actually. It feels quite solid. Metal back, the plastic top and bottom sections. And a quick look at the front there, you can see the camera at the top, 5 megapixel, and fairly visible the buttons at the bottom. Shouldn't have any trouble finding them. They're not backlit but easy to see. Screen is IPS and good viewing angles. I quite like the contrast and colour on this too. Again, 5.5-inch budget phone, not the highest resolution, 720p, but that's pretty much what you get in this price segment. With the silicone case that's included, the back cover that has a matte effect on the underside, so it gives you a bit of grip. And just show it fitted to the phone. Definitely use that, give you a bit of extra stability with the phone. Overall fit and finish with this, pretty happy with it, I have to say. It's not the lightest phone, it's just under 200 grams, but it feels very solid. And you can see the ports with the case on. Quick look at what's included. These are the two. There's a user manual and just a quick guide. There's a charger rated to 1 amp and micro USB cable. You also get the screen protector here and the screen wipes. This is a tempered glass protector. So if you're a bit accident prone, then I definitely fit that or get a flip case. Now this runs stock Android 7.0, so you won't find any customization here, and I think that's a good thing myself because that lets you tweak it yourself, put the apps that you want on. So everything's very much standard as with the normal Android installation. Just looking through the settings, you'll see that there are some couple of settings here in the Intelligence Assistance menu. So you have some smart wake gestures. You can also take a screenshot, pocket mode and intelligent operation. Usual stuff, reverse it over to mute and smart answer as well. Nothing particularly unusual in this. There's no notification LED on it. You do get about 28 gigs of storage left as it's a bare installation. Did check for updates. There were none available at the time of the review. And we'll just have a quick look at the camera app. It's the standard MediaTek one, which isn't necessarily the best app around. I personally would recommend trying a few other ones, but the focus speeds were okay. They do slow down inside. Outside they were fairly decent. In terms of options, in the MediaTek app it's not particularly great. You do have sort of the basic stuff available. Face detection, you can adjust the picture size, change the ISO, and you get some scene modes as well. Not much in the video menu either, so definitely worth hunting around, possibly looking at something else if you want a bit more control over the camera. I'm going to be doing some shots and a quick video sample later on just to have a look. We have some modes here which will adjust the tint of the pictures. You can pick sepia, negative, things like that. It's pretty much it really. There's not a huge amount on there. You can adjust the white balance. It's enough to get you going, but certainly there are better ones out there which would make better use of the sensor. As it's the newer Android operating system, you can also use a split screen with this phone, which is quite a nice feature. We'll test the fingerprint scanner now. So it doesn't take long to get this up and running. And you can add up to around 5 fingers, I believe, and the times are quite quick. The speed It unlocks quite quickly, not the fastest I've used, but it's consistent and reliable, so they've definitely improved these quite a bit. Battery came in just under the 3,800 milliamp hour mark, and that's a bit under spec, but it's still quite a large battery. And the GPS accuracy could have been a little bit better, if I'm honest. It was on the low side, but the screen was quite visible outside too, and the Wi-Fi was okay as well, no issues at all, decent speeds. As far as normal performance and a bit of gaming, etc., it actually does a reasonable job. It's very much in line with other quad-core processor phones in this area, but you will find the 3GB RAM certainly does help for normal daily tasks. That was a quick audio test that I did. The speakers are actually quite good, they don't distort, they get reasonably loud, and the headphone jack works fairly well, bit on the quiet side. As far as sensors, just the basic ones with this, you don't get anything else included really, just the bog standard sensors. So if you're going to do things like the cardboard, stuff like that, this isn't going to be the phone for you. Gaming performance was actually okay, it does quite a decent job. Make sure you don't go too mad on the settings though if you have options for them. As far as the video goes, it was just merely in the average category. I've seen better and I've seen worse. It did an okay job at full HD. Contrast is a bit on the high side and the detail isn't great, but it's not too bad. Certainly not the worst that I've used. Now the camera turned out to be quite good, definitely better than some of the phones that I used last year with similar sensors. Even the front camera didn't do a bad job in low light. I managed to get some fairly decent pictures with this phone, so I was relatively pleased with it. Sometimes the colour balance could be slightly off, like on this photo. I'll also show you a HDR image, and that came out quite well. Inside with low light, it also didn't do too bad either, so it's not a standout camera, but it's actually not a bad little camera at all. Certainly better than some of the ones that I've looked at last year, including the Alcatel U15 Pro, which was quite a nice phone, slightly quicker than this. But it didn't have very good cameras, so they've definitely improved it since then. Time for a review, summary and conclusion. Overall, I quite like this phone. There's nothing standout features wise about it, but it does the job well enough, and you have a good battery life with this phone. I had no problems at all getting a couple of days out of it. On the downside, the charging speeds could have been a bit quicker. Notification light and the GPS accuracy was another point to mention, but I was actually pretty happy with this phone overall. Decent day-to-day performance, it's a solid phone, and I particularly like the long battery life, which is certainly going to appeal to some users.